So thanks everyone for joining us today. We are so excited about this webinar, and Sequoia Group is proud to partner with Focus. And again, we're just excited for you guys to see how their solution transforms budgeting, forecasting, reporting into something intuitive and actionable. It's a powerful tool that's already helping many of our customers, kind of like you mentioned before, Michelle. And we're thrilled for you guys to learn more from the Focus team today. So I will turn the time over to Steve just to give a few thoughts before we get started.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Kaisa. And I really don't have much to say except that we've been looking, as most of you know, we've been looking for a long time trying to find a good solution and a solution like this, and we've struggled to find content. Content has been the issue, and Focus has cleverly named their content the packing list, and we're so excited to have action specific, action oriented information readily available for our base that we really want to make a lot of noise about this. So thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Steve. So with that, I'll hand it over to the Focus team to kick off the meeting.
You guys can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kaisa and Steve, for the introduction. We're so happy to be with all of you today and super grateful for our new partnership with Sequoia Group. So welcome everyone to our Focus with Focus webinar. Today's session is all about how Focus integrates with your Infor data to make it easy and simple to analyze your business. Kaisa gave it a great lead up there. I'll try to do as well as she did. My name is Maria Shalene, and I have 15 years of experience providing resource solutions across a range of companies. And my colleague John Sefton and I will be walking through how Focus brings together BI and FP&A to empower you with easy insights. So in this session, we'll cover the big ticket items such as who is Focus and what are some of the key challenges that we hear from distributors, how does Focus help solve those key challenges, and for the how, that's where John will give a live demo of Focus in action. So Focus exists to make people feel good about data, not intimidated by it, not frustrated by it, but feel good that your data is accurate and accessible and actionable for everyone in your business. And we actually have been doing this for 23 years or so. We've got a team dedicated to the Infor space with over 170 Infor customers to harness all of that great Infor data and give them a 360 view of their business, help them grow. Our company follows this in. We've got 8 offices around the US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and almost 3,000 customers, let's call it 2,800 plus, with 300 employees and 40,000 global users. And we are data agnostic, so we can connect with your CRM or any other systems as long as we can connect to your data. We've had over 200 integrations and have, again, a packing list specifically for Infor Facts. And we're probably most proud of the fact that we're at a 97% customer retention rate, which is a testament to a couple of things. One, how easy Focus is to use, and then just how much our customers value Focus. And we love our customers, so it's a win-win. So just in terms of what we hear overall right now in the market, Focus is forte because it is manufacturing and distribution and retail. We have very consistent themes that we hear from our customers, and probably some will resonate with you. What we're hearing and seeing from our distribution customers is increased pressure around pricing and margin coming from so many angles, whether supply chain disruption or tariff uncertainty. And so how do you get true visibility into inventory supply performance? How do you adapt in time to customer preferences? And how do you know, are they slowing down? Are their habits changing? How do you get ahead of that before it's too late? And then keeping pace, even if you don't have the newest version of Infor Facts, it doesn't mean that you can't have a detailed and up-to-date view of your business. So, and this is where Focus comes in and where we can help you guys maximize your ERP investment by uncovering insights that I dare say you can turn into gold. So The foundation of just a couple more slides before I turn it over to John. The foundation of Focus is our analytics platform. And this is where we centralize all of your Infor data seamlessly into one place where you can drill down by product, by branch, by customer, by margin. And it's user friendly. So people like me who break Excel, it's built for us, for the non-technical user, and allows you to follow your train of thought anywhere you want to go. We've got unlimited dashboards and visuals that don't ever break and that quickly update to give you real-time information. And what if you could turbocharge your analysis with some AI? Focus AI is powered by Chat GPT, and it is a private connection that doesn't retain your information. Um, so eventually, it's probably easier for a user to just click into Focus versus taking the time to type out a question. But as you're getting up to speed, it's a great learning tool that's going to show you how it got to an answer and give you clear results without any guesswork. And typically, our customers, I think Michelle mentioned this, buy financial statements and analytics as companion tools. Financial statements connects finance, sales, and operations to give you that real-time look so that you can refresh daily versus waiting for that end of month look back. And it's automated, so it's going to free up finance for things that matter more than reporting, or rather than tooling through reports. And it's flexible to give you that drill down to transaction level details look, and it will give you a visual story of your business. So, a couple of points before we move into demo, and we're going to focus on financial statements and analytics today. But again, we are data agnostic and connect to your data through various types of sources. Infor packing list is for distributors. It's what they actually want, and it's going to be a complete solution that you can customize for your business. But we have multiple tools beyond financial statements and analytics for the full FP&A solution, also lightweight CRM. But we'll focus today on, again, analytics, financial statements, and how it can benefit everyone in your business. So without further ado, I will turn it over to John for the demo.
All right, thank you, Maria. All right, can everybody see my screen okay? Okay, excellent. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name's John Sefton. I've been here at Focus for 12 years now. Before Focus, I worked for a distributor, or electrical distributor. Since joining Focus, I've managed our implementation team. I've worked on pre-sales. I've done solution development and also worked closely with our partners. So I'm excited to show you what we have today. On my screen here, we have our Infor Facts solution. And what is a solution? A solution is made up of two parts. It's the integration to facts, and then all the content and focus that pairs up to that data from that integration. So all of that's pre-built. It's ready to go. What you're seeing here on the screen is what you get right out of the box day one. And for anybody that's interested, I have a packing list that shows all the content that's included so you know exactly what you're getting with Focus. Now, if you see here on my left-hand side of my screen, these are all the different products that Focus has. So originally, Focus was an analytics tool. And so this looks very much like the original Focus. It's a lot newer technology, but a lot of the functionality is the same. But we've extended our analytics tool to be able to provide financial statements. So it creates a very easy to use interface to build out P&L statements, balance sheet statements, cash flow statements, and a trial balance. Then we have our budgeting and forecasting tool, which can be used with analytics or financial statements. So when you think analytics, you can think of sales or purchasing or things like that, where I might want to create a budget for my sales team. Or with our budgeting and forecasting tool, I can create a budget for my P&L. It makes the budgeting process much quicker and easier. A lot of our customers go from, maybe a quarterly or an annual budget, where now they do a rolling 12. They reforecast every month. So I will be showing you budgeting and forecasting towards the end. Then finally, we have rebates and CRM. For anybody that has vendor rebates or customer rebates, this is a great tool to stay on top of your rebate situation. And then our CRM tool as well. But today we're going to highlight analytics, financial statements, and budgeting and forecasting. Let's start off by going into a customer scorecard. So there's four different types of content in Focus. There's dashboards, databases, favorites, and then we have the ability to create alerts as well, which would show here if I had some. These are the ones that you get right out of the box, but during training, we're going to spend a lot of time to make sure you understand each one of these content types. You'll find that creating dashboards, for example, you don't have to be very technical. It's very straightforward and user friendly. And in fact, everything with Focus is with user in mind. So any feature we add, we want it to be really intuitive and user friendly because we find that if the easier it is to use, more people are going to use it and they're going to get more out of it. So we have our favorites, but I want you to notice it's referencing the database that it's created from. That's these down here. These are our analytics databases: sales, purchasing, inventory, AR, and AP. And from these analytics databases where I create my favorites. So if you create a view in the analytics database, you'll be able to save that view as a favorite and come back to it very easily. And then our dashboards are a great way to combine different areas of the business. So you can see I have AR and sales on my customer scorecard dashboard. This is where I can bring in different parts of my business onto a single screen on a dashboard. I could have inventory information, purchasing information, sales, AR and AP information all on one screen. So I'm going to flip over to a tab. Here's an example of a customer scorecard, where at the top we have these grids. I can click on a customer, click focus, and the whole dashboard updates based on that selection. So I'm going to be able to see what product categories that customer is buying from, what are the top vendors that they're buying from, year to date, month to date, sales and profit, any open AR invoices, and a look of how they're doing this year versus last year. Again, these dashboards are very easy to build. And during implementation, we're going to teach you how to add widgets to the dashboard and make it your own. But we give you a great starting point with lots of examples so you can kind of understand what might be possible. I can filter on anything. So maybe I want to look at a particular warehouse. I could do that. I could also specify that a certain user only sees a certain warehouse. So maybe Kaisa, she logs in, she sees the main branch, but Maria, when she logs in, she sees South Street. It's still the same dashboard, but they're only seeing the information that you want them to see. So I only have one dashboard to maintain. You can kind of think of each one of these widgets as its own report, where if I want to know more, I have the ability to drill deeper. I'm going to hit this little arrow here that's analyze, and it takes me into my analytics database. So now I'm in the sales database. This is the original focus, is this screen here. Right now, I'm looking at 12 months of data, but I have lots of flexibility over dates. I can look at any date range that I want. And right now, I have streams, and I'm looking at invoices. So these numbers that you see here are material that's been shipped and delivered to a customer, and now there's an invoice for it. But I could easily look at open sales orders or bids, or I could even compare invoices to a budget, or I could compare open orders to on-hand inventory. Streams are very powerful, but for now, I'm just going to stick with sales invoices. Next are my measures. These are the numbers that I'm seeing over here. Right now, it's value, which represents sales dollars. But I could turn on quantity, cost, profit, margin. Any one of these measures I can turn on or off at will. For now, we'll just stick with sales value. Then the first thing users really see when they log into Focus and go into an analytics database are these buttons down the left-hand side. These are called dimensions. And the data really dictates what these dimensions are. And they're very flexible, but working with fax customers, we've taken the most common ones. So day one, with very little training, users are going to be able to come in here and use these dimensions. I'll click on customer, and now I see sales by customer. I have 21,373,000 in sales over the last 12 months for 1,190 customers. And I can see this sales value, 21.3 million, across any dimension. So if I go to customer type, I see that 21.3 million. I can see it broken out by sales rep. I can see it by product category. I can see it by supplier or warehouse or product. Every time I click a button, I'm running a report. So I just ran like close to 10 reports in just 20, 30 seconds. And that's really the secret sauce of Focus is that users find this very intuitive. I don't really have to think real hard about it. I can concentrate more on the data. And then when I click a button, I get near instant results. And that's really what makes Focus special is that it's easy to understand, easy to use, and it's really fast. So it can follow my train of thought. So often I'll go in looking for a piece of information and find other information almost by accident because I'm quickly sorting through my data and I can find opportunities in the data that can help grow revenue, increase margin, maybe not lose customers or identify new customers that I might want to call on. So let's go through a scenario. We're looking at our top customers here. And I want to see how are they doing? Am I growing these customers or are they declining? So I'm going to use a very popular feature in Focus called variance mode. And what this is going to do is it's going to compare the current 12 months to the previous 12 months, and I can see what's changed. Now I'm up 14%, 2.6 million. That's great. I can see who increased and decreased. And I could sort on any one of these columns. So I can see Profab is my number one increase, or 287% increase. They're up quite a bit. So I'm going to focus on that customer. So now I'm not seeing 21.3 million. I'm seeing 471,000 in sales. How did it change? Why did it change? Let's go down to product category. And right away, I can see there's two product lines that they're largely buying, and it's primarily lights and lamps that saw the biggest increase. So I'm going to click on row one, lights and lamps, and click focus. And now I'm going to go to products, and I can see the actual products that they started buying a lot of. And it's primarily this adjustable manifold accessory kit. So this leads to other questions. Since I have a massive increase in demand on this item, are my stock controls set properly? Are my min maxes or reorder points set properly? Maybe I want the sales rep to go call on this customer and see, are they going to continue buying this item? Do I need to keep more of it in stock for them? So this is where I can go. I can quickly see who the sales rep is. It's Gary. And I want Gary to go call on this customer. So I'm going to create a favorite. Now your end users are creating their own reports, which are called favorites in Focus. And I can assign it to Gary or anybody else and put in a name and description asking them to call on that customer. So real quick, I'm able to create a favorite. So that's one kind of scenario. I have lots of different scenarios. And if you guys want an in-depth demo after the call, make sure to reach out because we can cover all types of things. A few more things I want to show with analytics though is that the numbers in Focus are never a mystery. And I don't know if because I do implementations and being able to win my customers' confidence by proving out the numbers, right? They're not a mystery. So let's say Judy walks into my office and she says, "Hey, the numbers in Focus for October, I don't think they're right. They don't seem right to me. It's just my gut feeling." Well, any number that you see in Focus, you can right click on it and go to transactions. So for this sales rep in October, here's all the invoices for that sales rep. So now I can run a report, invoice register, and Infor Fax and tie it directly to my ERP. So there's no guessing, right? We can really prove out the numbers that we're seeing here. That's called transaction mode. I'm a huge fan of transaction mode, so I always bring it up. Another thing I like to do is I like to help customers grow sales through data. Okay, so let's say I have a sales rep. We'll go to Judy again, and we'll look at their customers, and maybe I'll turn on variance, and I can look at any customers with a big variance. Or let's look at Tallahassee Incorporated, focus on them, and then I'm going to come down to product category. And whenever I sell something, I want to make sure I sell all the accessories with it. A lot of times, they're buying products, but maybe not buying the fixtures or the fittings and all the things that go along with that. So I want to make sure I identify any cross-selling opportunities. So what I'll do here is I'm going to take these product groups because I want to check all my customers and I'm going to hit matrix. Now I'm going to go back and look at customers, and I can see who's buying some things, but not all things. Here, let me go back and focus on Judy. We'll look at just her customers. Right. So right away, I'm seeing some things that are not buying controls, where if they're buying lights and lamps and power, they almost certainly need controls. They're getting it from somewhere. So they might be going to a competitor or something like that. I want to make sure that I'm selling all my product lines to all my customers. So using the matrix feature on product category, I could see the sales in each one of those product categories. Now, I could save this as a favorite. I could add it to a dashboard. I even have the ability to set alerts where if a certain event happens in my data, Focus is going to proactively notify you that event occurred. There's a number of other things we can do. I can export this anytime I want to Excel. If I want, I can turn it into a visualization very easily. You don't need to be technical to do this. And I can add this right to a dashboard. Now, at the beginning, Maria mentioned our AI tool. This is where I can answer or ask questions of my data in plain English. And so let's see here. Who are my top customers? And what it's going to do is it's going to find that answer for you, but it's also going to show you how it did it. Okay, so while in your first learning focus, this is a good tool to see, okay, I'm in total mode. I set my properties, I set my period, etc. Um, this is just the first phase of Focus's AI strategy. We have a fully laid out plan, a 5-stage um, AI plan, and this is just the first version of it. But we're taking AI very seriously, so stay tuned for some exciting updates there. One of those is our insights tool, where it can give us insights. It can segment our customers based on a number of different factors. So if I show you the configuration here, it's going to ask me who are my customers, a few setup things here. But it's going to be able to segment my customers into different groups, show the customers I can't lose, who's my loyal customers, who are at risk, etc. And this is based off things like how frequent they purchase, how much their average order is, and when was the last time we heard from them. And that's ultimately going to result in some segmentation that gives me some insights on what I need to do. So that is just a quick overview of our analytics tool. There's a lot more I could show you, but for the sake of time and retention, I'm prepared to shift over to financial statements unless there's any questions.
Hey, John, does this update on the same schedule as the financial data?
Are you
Like,
talking about the data itself?
yeah, like for financials, it's I think once a day, 2 in the morning, something like that. So the next day I can get the previous day information. Is it the same for all the analytics data?
It is the same. However, we have a lot of customers that want to update their data much more frequently, especially during month end.
Hmm.
Okay, so the sync tool is the tool that connects to fax, and you can run that more often. I
Okay.
can also run just portions of my data, right? So maybe if it's just the financials that I'm working on, I can sync just that piece of data and update that as I'm making month-end journal postings. I want to see the results of those. I don't want to have to wait till tomorrow, so you can run it more frequently.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. All right, financial statements. You'll notice it looks very similar to our analytics tool with our dimensions down the left-hand side and a lot of the same controls along the top. But what we've done is when I'm on my summary button here, what we've done is we've given users access to this customized statements. It's profile driven, right? So you have to be granted access to this through your Focus administrator. But what I do is it allows me to create different P&Ls and balance sheets. So if I click on the drop down list here, you can see I have 5 different P&Ls, 3 balance sheets, a cash flow, and a trial balance. This is all based off the same data, but it's just different formats and views of that data. I might have a P&L for my branch managers. I might have a different P&L for my board of directors, but it's all based off the same data, which is postings to the general ledger and my chart of accounts. That's the data that makes up this analytics database. So if I go into customized statements, you'll notice this is the same list that I saw from my statement dropdown. So if I add a new one here, it's going to show on my statement dropdown. So I can create new ones, I can clone existing ones, or I can just click on the hyperlink here and it takes me into the statement builder. This is for accountants. This is not for end users, okay? This is for whoever's going to be creating and publishing P&Ls to end users. So what we do here is we create groups and calculations. Headings and spacers are just for formatting. You'll notice the orange oval here, it's group. And then I have my blue, which is a calculation. And these, I can put them wherever I want, and I can name them whatever I want. I could put whatever value I wanted in here. Here I've put in revenue. So I've created my groups revenue and cost of sales, and then I have a calculation for gross profit, which is A minus B, or revenue less cost of sales equals gross profit. So I'm going to create all the different high-level groups and calculations that I want on my P&L. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go over to my accounts tab where I'll find my chart of accounts. So there is, one-time effort here to go in and categorize these chart of accounts. So I'll click on sales, and from the drop down here, I'm getting all the groups that I created on my statement tab. So revenue, cost of sales, operating expenses. That's what I'm seeing here. Revenue, cost of sales, operating expenses. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to categorize all of them. I can do one at a time or I could do several. So let's see here. I'll do my operating expenses. They're all categorized already, but this is where I would categorize them. And then I can even hide mapped accounts. So as I go through them, they disappear. If a new one's created later, it's very easy to find and categorize it. But it gets better. Notice, let's do a search here, and I'm going to search for operating expenses. I have 52 operating expense accounts where I want to create smaller subcategories within operating expenses. That's where my groups comes into play. It allows me to create other categories that I want to group my data in. So I've created one called subdimension, and that's what we're seeing here. So now I've gone in and I've given it smaller subcategories like office expenses, travel and entertainment, etc. These can be any value that I want. All right. I've created my statement. I've gone in, I've mapped my accounts to the appropriate groups, and I've created a subcategory called subdimension and given those values. And once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and save and close. And that's how we end up with the screen we see here, where all my operating expenses are under the operating expense group. But notice I'm at the GL account level here. I want to group it by that grouping I created called subdimension. So I'm going to drag it up and drop right here. So now when I expand operating expenses, everything is nicely grouped. Oh, wrong order. There we go. So now I can see the group, my subcategory, let's say employee expenses, and then down to the GL account level. All right. Now that we've created the P&L, there's lots of different ways we can view this P&L. Right now, we're looking at actuals versus previous. That's controlled by the columns up at the top. So you can see I have previous turned on. I could turn that off if I wanted to. It's year to date. I could change it to any date range that I want, maybe month to date or current month. Since I'm looking at year to date, I might want to see all the periods in this time range. So I'm going to click on all, and then I'm going to see a P&L broken out for each month in the year. These are a number of built-in type of views, but I have the ability to customize columns where I can very explicitly lay out each column that I want to see. Maybe the first column I want it to be current month, the second column this year or last year, same month. The third column could be year to date. I can very deliberately specify each column that I see using customized columns. We also have things like percent contribution and percent of revenue, which is always interesting to look at. So if I look at operating expenses and let's say employee costs are 48% of my operating expenses, but 7% of my revenue. And I can also bring in other streams of data. Now notice I have several budgets loaded in my finance database. And these were created in our budgeting forecasting tool, which I'll be showing you next. But I'll turn on budget 2025, and now I'm comparing my actuals to a budget so I can see how well that I'm doing. I always say, whether it's an analytics database like sales or purchasing or a finance database, having a budget or some kind of baseline in my data to know, are these numbers good or not? Right? It's one thing just to be able to see my numbers, but to have that benchmark there to know, am I meeting my goals or not, is super important. All right. So right now we're looking at total revenue for the whole company. But let's say I'm branch manager and I only want to see my branch. Well, one, I can focus on it. Two, I can be restricted to it by my administrator. So let's go to location. And your administrator might say, hey, you only have access to the main branch. So I'd restrict you where you'd automatically only be seeing a P&L for the main branch. Or maybe I'm the CEO and I want to look at my locations side by side. Or maybe I want to look at a particular branch. I can focus on any one of them and see a P&L for that particular branch. Or maybe since I'm the CEO, I want to see it broken out by division. So I'm going to drag division up to column groups and drop it. Now I'm going to see sales and or P&L for each one of my divisions, which then maybe I want it grouped by location. So I can see the focus divisions, Australia, UK, and US. And then when I go to operating expenses, I'm seeing it broken down for each of the locations. At any time, I can export this to Excel. And what's nice about this is it maintains all the formatting that you see from within the application. Oh. So just as you see it in Focus is how you're going to see it here. And just like anywhere else in Focus, the numbers are not a mystery. I can right click on it and go to transactions, and I can see all the journal postings to that account for that location for this time range. So I can tie it back to my ERP very, very easily. All right. So we also have the ability to build advanced views with financial ratios. So we can bring in other data other than a P&L data. I can bring in customer counts. I can bring in customer sales information. I can bring in balance sheet information that I need to calculate ratios. So here you can see I brought in working days, customer counts, invoice counts, etc., which allow me to calculate revenue by customer, by day, by square foot. Then I get down to some financial metrics. You can see we have a formula here, pretty advanced formula, not the first thing you'll do, but notice it's bringing in balance sheet information so I can see return on assets. The nice thing about this is I build it one time, and then every time I update my data, these numbers are going to refresh. So I have constant awareness of my financial positions. We have balance sheets, cash flow statements, and a trial balance. All right. So that's my overview for finance. Any questions for me on this? All right. So let's go ahead and go over to budgets and forecasts. You can see I've done quite a few of these.
John,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Um, on on the cash flow sheets, what if do you have the concept? I'm not sure if I'll say it right. Let's say that the company is planning a big expenditure in first quarter of 2026,
Yes.
and we haven't expended that money, right? But it's an anticipated spending, and we want to include that in our cash flow. Do you have that ability?
We do. What we call it is a three-way budget, otherwise known as kind of a cash flow forecast. Okay. And it's done with our budgeting and forecasting tool. But what you can do is you could put in a potential expenditure, maybe in the future, and see the effect it's going to have on your cash flow downstream, right? We don't ever want to run out of money or cash on hand. So yes, it's a three-way budget, and we bring in balance sheet, cash flow, and the P&L all together to see if we make a purchase or some type of expenditure, what that's going to happen in the months that follow.
Okay, so just let me recap, just make sure I understood correctly. As part of that budget, because of course we would have budgeted X number of dollars per month out in the future, and so forth, and then this extra anticipatory expense, um, maybe it's not in the budget, maybe it is there, or is it in do you say a third party or a third aspect of that from what we've done in the past versus our budget versus these extra expenditures? Do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
I believe, I think so. And I'm going to put this into chat, okay? Because this is it kind of goes through what you're asking. But what's going to happen is in our budgeting and forecasting tool, you're going to be able to put in a number for a potential expenditure. And then you can see the months that follow based on normal activity if you're going to run into a cash on hand problem. Does that make sense? Did I understand it right?
I think so. Can you within the tool outline a specific event? Like let's say that we're looking to expand and we're wanting to buy a particular piece of property, and that is the expense, so that we can
Yes.
identify the expense, not just the number itself. Or perhaps in that same month, we're not only going to buy land, but we're going to buy two trucks. But we want to know someone else wants to know, well, what does that value that you've projected out in this cash flow, what does that encompass? Is there detail associated with that number?
Yes, you'll be able to. So our budgeting and forecasting tool is very much like Excel. So you can put in a line for a land purchase or a vehicle purchase and how much that is going to be, and then see, like, you can kind of do like what if scenarios in our budgeting and forecasting tool.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a very strong feature. I will say it's advanced, right? Generally only accountants know this level of information. We have a person on staff, a couple people, but one of them, his name's Nick Aversano, where if you'd like a deep dive demo of that situation, he is a pro and he explains it so well. So feel free to reach out to us and we can get that scheduled if you'd like to look into that more.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's create a new budget. And John, I'll touch on a little bit further, but I'm not going to go to that in-depth level here. Create a budget. Right away, it asks me what type of budget is it? Is it for finance or my financial statements database? Or is it for operations, which is any other database, any analytics database I might want to do it off of? Today, we're going to do a finance budget. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to just call it demo 10. It's actually a webinar. And 22, 25. And then it asks me which P&L do I want to base my budget off of? Now I'm going to choose just the one I showed earlier, profit and loss. I'm logged in as Focus, so I'm the owner of the budget. But if I want a Kaisa or Maria or anybody else to help me, I can make them a administrator. Click next. All right, what am I going to budget by? I'm going to budget by month. What are the date ranges I want to budget for? I'll do it October to September of next year. What do I want to populate the budget with initially? So I'm gonna do the opposite here. I'm gonna start with October 2024 to September 2025. Yes. And then if I want to add in rows, I can bring in other things for reference. So basically, as I do my budget, I'm going to be able to see previous year's values to help me get a better beat on what it might be. And then I can have multiple currencies. We have a lot of multi-currency customers. I'm going to base it just on my default reporting actuals. Then next. Okay. So here I'm budgeting by category, revenue by account, my revenue accounts. But earlier we added in that subgrouping called subdimension. So I want to bring that into my budget. So I have my operating expense values grouped into smaller subcategories. Save and finish. And then when this finishes loading, you're going to see it looks like my P&L. Where now if I expand my operating expenses, then I can go to my employee costs. So here's my GL accounts for my different employee costs, recruitment, annuation, etc. Right now, everything's assigned to me, Focus. That's why you see this here. But I have the ability to assign this to other people. So please enter your recruitment budget numbers. And then I'm going to assign this over to Jordan. And you'll see now it shows assigned, Jordan, and the cells are white, indicating it's read only. Any cells that are yellow, I can change. This is assigned to me, so I can change these values. And it works very much like Excel. I can put my cursor in and I can change these values, or I can right-click on the total and choose a number of options, one of them being spread. So it's going to grow by a certain percentage. And notice for recruitment, I have a trend line. So I'm going to grow it proportionally by row, meaning it's going to follow the trend of my previous years. I'll hit apply. So now these values are updated. If I want to compare them against previous years, I'm going to add a comparison row. Now I can see what it was from previous years, and I could even reference it if I wanted to using a formula. But I just increased it by 7%. I'm happy with this one. Marked it complete, which is obviously is our goal for all these budget items, is to mark it complete. But it gets better. We have a number of different things we can do. We can add working lines and sublines, which essentially starts acting like Excel. I can put in and show my math on how I got to a budget number. I could put in all the different parts of the equation to where I get to my budget numbers by adding working lines or sum lines. I also have the ability to add in um, other drivers, but hold that thought. I want to recap what we've done here. One, a lot of our customers budget using spreadsheets. So I'm sending spreadsheets out to all kinds of different people. They send it back to me, and I have to put all those spreadsheets together. It's time consuming, it's error prone, there's no logging, there's no security controls. Here where everything's done in here. When Jordan comes in, Jordan's going to get notified he has a task and go right to the budget item that he has to update and make that change. He's only going to see what he's assigned. So we're handling version control and security right within Focus. We also log everything. So if I look at workflow history, I'm going to be able to see all the dialogue back and forth as I get to my budget numbers. So that way, next time I go to reforecast, I'm going to be able to see all the dialogue that happened and how we got to that budget number, which right now lives largely in Outlook, right, in emails and things. So it's very tedious, time consuming to kind of get to that information. So I wanted to point those things out. Then we also have the ability to use what we call drivers, which are different types of tabs like you would see in Excel. I could create just a manual entry tab, just a blank tab that I could reference from any one of these cells in here. I can put a formula in just like I do in Excel and reference numbers that I might want to look at. So if I had it on another tab, I could do that. I can create a manual tab and have a workbook just like I have for Excel. Let me get rid of this. All right, just reverted to baseline. Okay, then we have a lookup tab. So if there's data that I need to reference in my budget for whatever reason, it could be customer credit limits, it could be currency exchanges, it could be a number of different things, but there's data that exists in maybe a sales or purchasing or other analytics database that I want to use in my budget. I can also bring in an entire focus database. So in my sales database, I have very granular customer and product group and sales rep information. And I might want to use that information to drive my budget, where I'm able to get the breakdown of product groups or branches or whatever it might be. So we can use data that's already in focus. We have a headcount driver, which it gives you a view where you're going to list all your employees, their salary or wages, benefits, any commissions, bonuses, any type of thing you were going to associate benefits to my GL account for benefits, commissions to my GL account for commissions, salaries, etc. So I'm going to have a complete list. It's encrypted and password protected of all my employees. And that sheet's going to drive all the appropriate GL accounts for the budget. And then we have a reference, which is another way to bring in data. And then finally, the balance sheet and cash flow, which John was talking about earlier. We call it a three-way budget, which allows me to do cash flow forecasting. That takes a bit to set up. It's very accounting heavy, so I'll reserve that for a more in-depth deep dive. All right. Now, ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, my goal is going to be to mark all of these complete. And once I do that, I'm able to publish my budget to my financial statements database, which is going to create another one of those streams. Remember, I clicked on the drop down. I had lots of budgets. That's how they're getting there, is that I'm publishing those budgets from my budgeting and forecasting tool into my financial statements database. All right. Whew, that was a lot of talking. Hopefully, this proved valuable to you. Is there any questions or anything anybody wants to bring up? All right. Well, today we covered analytics and the different operational databases. Then we went into financial statements and we showed how we could create a P&L and how the grouping and the different views that we could view. We talked about budgets and forecasts where we could budget for sales or finance and all the different capabilities there and how it can save you a lot of time and allow you to budget more frequently. Because without that baseline or to know our numbers are good. And that's all I have for today.
John, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Obviously from the analytics tool, I'm seeing that Focus is pulling all the data from facts and so forth.
Mhm.
Have you seen or have you guys deployed something relating to like promotions? And when I'm referring to promotions, let's say that, when you go to buy something at any restaurant, they now talk about, do you have your card? And as you swipe your card, they give you X number of points for every promotion or every food item you buy. Maybe it's different if you buy this sandwich or this drink. Would
Mhm.
there be a way to encapsulate various promotion style gathering of information, not from the ERP specifically, meaning that but it's controlled by Focus in the sense of for this particular item or so forth, we're going to award these many points, or for this particular customer, they're based on this many points. And then from there, build out a promotion type system that we can award customers and, give trips and all that sort of stuff. Have you guys ever done or applied this database to that sort of thinking?
Yeah, I've definitely done things similar to that. Now, the trick to that is that we need the data, right? Focus is a data analytics tool, so we're analyzing data. Now, so it could be data could be a spreadsheet. It could be an external system. It could be fields and facts that I want to include. Now, an ideal situation is that, let's say for sales, the data that I'm bringing into Focus is every line item on every invoice. Some of those line items are eligible for a promotion. I would need some way that I could base logic to flag that line item as a promotional item. And if I can flag it, then in my sales database, I could very easily have a button that says promotion item, yes or no. And then I could focus in on those yeses, go to a customer, focus in on that customer, then go to the products and look at the products that are eligible for promotion for that customer. So I might have a spreadsheet that says customer 123, item 456 has a promotion of whatever it might be. And I might maintain that spreadsheet, have it somewhere on my network, and it's syncing to Focus. And my sales data is looking at that spreadsheet, says, okay, this customer, this item, yes, it's a promotion. So I have a dimension there that I could do that with. But we need data to base it off of. I'm not going to be able to enter it in Focus. I'll need to do it in some like Excel or something like that.
Is this information also available from, as you say, a dashboard that can be retrieved from another place? So, for example, if we have a website that we're wanting to pull this data and
Mhm.
display it, and or if we had a monitor in our warehousing or our screens to pull whatever dashboard information we want, um, I get, I think from a warehouse screen that we could have that pull it pretty easy, but I'm thinking of like a third party website that wants to pull that information out. Is there APIs or some other method to query, to ping, whatever you want to call it, into the Focus database to get that out to display on some other third party software?
So the challenge with that is that Focus requires a login, right? So we do have two different types of licenses. We have a full license, which essentially has access to this screen here with the dimensions. I can slice and dice my data, etc. We also have a viewer license, and a viewer license only gets access to dashboards and favorites. So if they went into a favorite, let's say current month sales, a viewer user is not going to see any of this information. They're just going to see what's over here. So
Yeah, and
this
that'd
is
be great. But if your dashboard is, let's say using my promotion example moving forward, if we wanted to show what were the top customers, eligible this month for this promotion and display it on the website, if we set that up as a dashboard and then the website pulls that information from the dashboard to be displayed in whatever fashion, that all possible?
yeah, I think the challenge, John, is that it requires a login,
Okay.
right? So I think I know on the back end that there are ways that we can do it. It's something that we would probably want to discuss during a demo. Um, Security is a big priority for Focus, right? So without a login, if we were to put it on a website without a login, we would want to be very sure we do that correctly. So there's some security concerns without a login for Focus, which I think it sounds like we would need in that use case. If people are going to your website to get information, not everybody's going to have a login to Focus. So we want to talk that through.
Okay. One other thought before I let you go, please, and
Sure.
maybe you already covered it, so sorry if I missed it.
No worries.
If we have something like every Monday we want to publish to our sales order folks, our internal team, like how many outstanding orders they have, how many outstanding purchase orders they have, how many outstanding warranties that particular person has.
Mhm.
Are there timers or such that says I'm going to run this every so often, and that so often is very configurable. Third Thursday and on the blue moon of the second Sabbath. Maybe not that defined, but you know what I mean. Very, very flexible.
Yeah,
Do you have that?
absolutely. Yes, sir. This is what we call subscription. So I can subscribe to, on a certain frequency. So it'll send an email with an Excel attachment to it.
Okay.
Um, Also, that's a perfect example of a dashboard, right? Where a dashboard, I have sales information, I have purchasing information, I might have inventory information. Those are three different analytics databases in Focus, but we're bringing it all together for a specific role or person where they could go into that dashboard. And that would update every day, right? Um, Dashboards and favorites are viewer users, which are substantially cheaper than full users. But you don't, with the downside is that you don't get access to the analytics databases, which is really the secret sauce, in my opinion. But a viewer user could get a dashboard or a favorite, and favorites are what we subscribe to, right? So if you just want them to get some reports every Monday morning, they could have a viewer user with it's subscribed to particular favorites, and then they get that email to them every Monday morning. An aside to that is an alert. An alert is only going to send if it meets a certain condition. So a subscription is on a regular schedule. An alert is, hey, some event happened. I'm notifying you. But otherwise, they're very, very similar.
And are those alerts and subscriptions administered through an administrator and or a user can actually say, I want to get it for whatever access they've been given through the administrator?
It's going to be an administrator or somebody with a profile permission that allows subscription of other people.
Okay. Okay.
Great questions, though.
And I assume that like I think I saw something like a branch scorecard or something
Yes.
that could be expanded from the management team to have a management overall. Like I'd like to see because in the fax system there's a concept they call I can't remember, but it gives you the five basic metrics of open sales orders, open purchase orders, uh, perhaps inventory and AR balance, something like that. But whatever metric that the management wants to see, a KPI, assuming that could be quantified and developed and put to a dashboard, then that could be sent out periodically via subscription, to the management team every week or what have you, correct?
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Now, here's the packing list of what's currently in our solution. So we have customer, inventory, and sales dashboard. But I think you'll find that creating dashboards is very straightforward. So you could put that together yourself. Or when you get an in-depth demo at the end of it, we're going to have a statement of work. And if there's particular things that you want to have included in your implementation, like a branch scorecard that shows X, Y, and Z numbers, we can build it for you. I just lost power.
We can hear you still.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, everything just turned off. Sorry about that. But yeah, we can absolutely build that out for you if we need to.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Well, just to be respectful of everyone's time, I think we'll conclude this session. But thank you everyone for joining us today, and big thank you to John and Maria for an excellent session. Like John mentioned, if you guys have any other questions, would like a more in-depth demo, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help. We want to help, as well as Focus. We are again, we're grateful and excited to be partnered with them. And yeah, thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
You.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. We'll see you.
See ya.